Thanks for visiting the patient and the weather. Today, I'm meteorologist Al Peterlin. I'd like to talk about the weather health risk for November 25, 2025. We do keep additional graphics at tpatw.com. And of course, if you're an Amazon shopper, we have a storefront, Patient Weather, on Amazon, and we would appreciate you doing your shopping through our website there. Looking at the surface map for this looks shaping up to be a terrible Tuesday. We have high pressure covering much of the western half of the country, but there is an active front stretching all the way from Minnesota across Illinois through Arkansas back to West Texas, but an even more active front stretching from Cleveland south all the way to San Antonio, with a massive swath of unsettled weather across the east, covering both the southeast, the Middle East, and up all the way into the northeast. And you'll note we're looking at some snow behind, especially across the eastern Dakotas, Minnesota, and across even to some portions of the lakes, and a little bit, of course, always in the high elevations of the Pacific Northwest. Looking at our vitality index, and this is a composite map where all of the different elements of weather that can trigger a health risk tend to show up, and it gives us a highlight area, really more the reds than the yellows, but you'll notice the reds area really stretching up the plains from Oklahoma through Nebraska, Kansas, up into Dakotas, picking up Montana, Wyoming. Then jumping to the east, although the east is really unsettled, you'll note we do have that real significant area of unsettled weather from Michigan across Ohio into West Virginia, and then up the coast from the Carolinas to New Jersey. Pressure change is always an important issue for those with migraine, headache, and even arthritis, and you can see we have rising pressure up the plains, running all the way from really Dallas up through Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, the Dakotas, over again into that Wyoming and Montana. But notice the real swath of significant falls here from western Oklahoma across Kansas, Nebraska, picking up western sections of the Dakotas and the eastern Montana. Jumping to the east with all that unsettled weather, we have falling pressure stretching from Minnesota, Wisconsin, across Indiana all the way to Virginia, and then picking up across the Ohio, the middle Atlantic states, and Michigan. It does move into the northeast, but doesn't quite make it through, holding off here mainly through New York State. Temperature falls, of course, at this time of the year are always important, and you'll see we do have that frigid Arctic air breaking down the northern plains. But note here, for at least another day or two, we have warming temperatures from Virginia up and along the coast, and even here in Ohio into western Pennsylvania, and picking up nicely here in Massachusetts and the lower portions of New England. Dew point temperature change, again, always important, but note rapid falling here in the plains, rapid rising up at the eastern seaboard, and our vapor pressure map shows it far more significantly, at least in depth, and you'll see that we're really picking up that drop in dew point temperatures here across Kansas, but that rise right across the south, all the way from Mississippi through Georgia, and then up the eastern seaboard, from Virginia and on in, and that nice little swath area of Ohio. Looking at POI, and we might say this is shaping up to be one terrible Tuesday, with a risk of migraine from eastern Texas all the way across Oklahoma, again the same plain states up through the Dakotas, back into Montana and the easternmost sections of Wyoming, but note the depth of that risk here from Nebraska through western Dakotas and eastern Montana and Wyoming. Jumping to the east, in a line almost from Wisconsin through Illinois all the way down to Mississippi, and everywhere east, we have a significant risk of asthma and arthritis, but the most significant areas here in Ohio, and then again back along the coastal areas from South Carolina through North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, picking up on eastern Pennsylvania, stretching all the way east into Connecticut and up through New York. And note there is a risk, but it's a slightly less risk up here in the northernmost portions. And here for this, we're picking up those Canadian cities all the way from Windsor to Montreal. Thanks for visiting the patient and the weather. Your comments are appreciated. If you hurt, tell us where you're located. And if you're an Amazon shopper, again, one way to support the patient and weather is through our web pages or our storefront on Amazon, Patient Weather.